all new. AM 1150 WTMP.com.
Alrighty. It's that time again. Mama, them guys on the radio. Dad, they on the radio again. Here it is. Now I know all you folks who've been shut in, shut down, shut up, all that kind of stuff, because that's what's happening.
Get the privilege to hear us.
Yeah, you get to you spending all this quality golden time with your loved ones and your family members, the ones that you get to push out the door every morning normally. Well, guess what? You're stuck with them for at least another 2 weeks, I hear. So anyway, we're gonna do this thing called Porch Talk Radio. We're gonna make it happen again, and me and Gabriel here, and Tim got the camera.
We are live today.
Got the camera. So one of these days we're gonna be able to do Facebook Live. Then you'll be able to get this whole thing, the way some of the other people do it. But we're not copycatting that yet. But we'll get there. We're evolving. This is an evolutionary process.
There we go.
So anyway, happy Saturday afternoon to everyone that's out there. Smile at the folks around you. Be glad they're still here. Our topic today is going to be, it's not going to be the same thing you've been hearing all day. I'm just going to tell you that now. And we try to stay away from being another show, of the 11 and 12 shows, that take an hour to talk about the same thing that everybody else is talking about.
Mass hysteria.
So it may be the same kind of thing, but we know that for all intents and purposes, if the white population, gets a cold, black folks get the flu and corona.
What's up with that?
So anyway, for those who want to call in during the show, this is a radio call-in show. So for those who want to call in during the show, you want to be on the radio. The call-in number here at WTMP is 813-251-9867. 813-251-9867. I got a bunch of calls last week. So for those who want to call me and talk to me, Eddie Adams Jr., my cell phone number is 813-212. Again, I take your calls, so, they got a lot of people say, well, they don't take my call, or, I don't, and there's a lot of people listening. I had a caller call me last week and told me it's a lot of people listening to the show. They just don't call in. And I know that, and I understand that. And everybody's not going to call into a radio show. Yeah, it takes some time, active, I ain't going to say it like that, but I mean, like an act of God, for folks to do anything, to do anything. So I'm not offended, if I don't get 30 calls, because then that means we'll spend the whole hour talking to you, and not giving information or being useful to the community. So we're gonna look at this corona thing. Well, let me give you the website. The website is porchtalkradio.com. If you wanna send us some information, if you want to send me a text, at the phone number. If you want to email me, Eddie, EDDIE, at porchtalkradio.com. The World Health Organization is supposed to monitor pandemics and crises all over the world and take a look at them from a non-political point of view. Now, I started looking at this a couple of weeks ago, and I thought it was strange. Because like I told you guys, my other life, my undergraduate degree is in microbiology. So we studied, plagues and epidemics and crisis through the ages. You know, the Black Plague and cholera and Ebola and some of the stuff. You know, we actually studied that stuff back in school. You know, back in the good old days. You know, but you know, a lot of times when you had something like that, it was like a mushroom. We had the mushroom effect. You know, it started somewhere small, patient 0, you know, patient 1 through 10 or whatever, and then it kind of spreads out from there. You know, but if you look at now, you know, so you got, in order for you to do this with me, you would have to take a look at some point in time through the course of the day. You may not want to try to do it during this radio show.
Because you got to listen to us.
Even though you can.
We are the voice of reason.
Even though you can. Look at the World Health Organization global Corona-19 map. If you look at that, you will see that there's places in the world that have 0 cases, 0 deaths from coronavirus.
Oh, Eddie, we know the answer to that. You know why, don't you? Because the media's not there.
Well, that ain't it either. You know, they don't have any cases. You know, even though they have media.
Let them get cable.
You know, part of the situation, and this is my thought. And I'm not saying anything. So don't have the police show up at my house. You know, when this is all over with. You know, I'm saying do what they told you to do. Stay safe. Stay at home. You know, shut yourself off from everybody else. I mean, do what they tell you to do. I'm just wondering, and again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist of anything, but this ain't the one. I got a feeling deep down inside that there is something else they're preparing for.
Oh boy!
And it's not this, because this is here, and they're playing with it, and they're
It's the
dealing
flu.
with it, and they're testing some things. You know, now I'm gonna say this. And I'm saying this, and I'm being truthful.
Mom.
You know, for the best that I know, I do not know anybody that has the coronavirus myself. I don't know anybody. Haven't heard, you know, anybody close to me around my neighborhood or anything with it. So I'm saying I'm not saying it's not there. I'm just saying I don't know anybody that has it. Now for them to shut down Wall Street, for them to shut down Walt Disney, and the buses still run every day, and some things are still happening, you know, that are considered to be essential. But the recovery, when this thing is over with, and so I was talking to somebody on the phone the other day, and we've had a conversation about, you know, how did they get $2 trillion? I said they're gonna print it. They say they're gonna just print $2 trillion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we can't borrow it from China. and England got a worse, you know, prices than we do. So where you gonna go get $2 trillion? Well, then they say, oh, but then it's gonna eventually be 6. You know, so it's gonna go up another 4.
And then 10. But you know what, Eddie? In the midst of all of that hysteria, I've been trying to, and maybe you can bring some light on this. The Federal Reserve is one organization, but that's not a government organization, correct? On the Federal Reserve. That's just the name of it.
Federal Reserve is not federal.
Okay, so but then Trump just did something with them over the last 3 days that's really huge, because China is no longer our loan broker person that we're dealing with on the stimulus bill that just got it's being dumped into the economy, where people are supposed to get $1,200. Because it's between the Federal Reserve and another organization, and Trump combined them.
Well, the Federal Reserve don't print money. The Treasury print the money.
Okay.
Now, the Federal Reserve can tell you where it's gonna go, but they don't print it. Only the people in this country that can print money is the United States Treasury, and they do that under the orders or under the command of the President of the United States. So the President of the United States can have them print more money, which is what they're gonna do. That's how they're gonna get the money. Now, the value of the dollar on the open market, that's a whole nother animal.
Are you thinking Banana Republic?
And what's happening on Wall Street and the value of the dollar, considering, and something I found out that was strange the other day, is that all airline pilots, now this is what the article said,
Come on.
all airline pilots all over the world speak English. I did not know that. But I read an article that said all airline pilots that in order to be a pilot, you have to be able to speak English because when you're coming into the different, towers and places, all over the planet, you got so many different languages that you got to be able to communicate. And so as a standard language, that all those guys, whether you're French, Italian, German, Croatian, Japanese, whatever, that they speak English because the tower folks are required to also be able to speak English. I did not know that. That's just wild to me.
Well, but Eddie, and I think you're onto something. That there's a bigger picture happening. They're talking about literally shutting down the streets in New York right now.
Yeah.
They're like in 24 hours.
Yeah.
They're going to have a final word on it. And today I noticed from Mr. Como, who's been given a lot of airtime, they've begun to take away airtime from the president's daily briefing. They've begun to take that away because his numbers are shooting way high on favoritism. But Como today said about 11 o'clock, he was talking 11:30, they're wanting all the hospitals to become one unit, one system. Ooh, listen to that.
Well, but let me throw
From
this
a conspiracy side, like, well, why not? Let the government just run it.
Let me throw this out there. Okay.
How great's the VA been?
Okay. How do now, folks? I'm not gonna bore you with a lot of numbers, but some numbers are needed because these are numbers gathered by the World Health Organization, and I got these numbers this morning, so I was doing my homework. And if they got some numbers that disagree with these, again, you can find the numbers at various different places, and I compare, and they're in the same ballpark. So worldwide, as of this morning, the confirmed cases of the coronavirus was 614,136. That's worldwide.
That's a lot of people in the world now.
Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot of people. Now the deaths, they got 28,251 deaths from the coronavirus.
Percentage-wise, that's small.
Yeah, looking at it and comparing it to other diseases.
And population number compared to that. Oh my goodness.
But we have not went through this for any of those other diseases, and the swine flu has killed more people.
Yes, it has. 60 million were infected
than
in
this. So
2009.
let me run a couple other numbers by you. And again, don't get shocked and bent out of shape about numbers. But every now and then, they make a statement that you may not see unless somebody points you to the numbers. Okay, United States got 105,006 confirmed cases. 100,000. Deaths in the United States, 1,715 deaths in the United States. Now, of the deaths in the United States, 5 cities, I don't mean 5, countries, states, whatever, 5 cities, all of them happen to be sanctuary cities, have 90% of the cases.
Why is that? Eddie, stop.
90.
You're not being politically correct, Eddie.
I'm just saying.
Just because they're all Democrat controlled also. Don't even go there.
5 sanctuary cities in the United States have 90% of the cases. I'm making too much sense because I'm just saying what the numbers say. I'm not putting a political twist or spin on it. I'm just telling you what what I said, what came up.
But if that's true, Eddie, then why do we still want open borders?
I don't know if they want open borders anymore. I'm just saying that topic hasn't come up in a while.
Funny how that happened. In fact, folks, why isn't Bernie Sanders getting more airtime right now?
Well, I think.
Why is that, folks? Just because everything's more controlled now, like he wanted?
I think Biden pretty much got that. So they forgot. See, that's the other thing. If you got the right emergency. Funny how people forget everything, how people give up everything,
Eddie.
How it's easy to take control of everything if you got the right emergency. You got to have the right emergency because some emergencies are more important than other emergencies. And again, we're not talking conspiracy. I'm just bringing out some points that while we at home sequestered, with our loved ones, that we may take some time and energy to kind of just look at some of this stuff, so we'll be able to recognize it for what it is.
Well, and the politicians are still out there, folks. They're still making some noise and being even funny about it. I mean, the coronavirus, just got a few people dead in America. Even Hillary Clinton just said last couple of days, a joke out of coronavirus. Trump did promise America first. That's hysterical.
They did say something about, if the coronavirus, you want to get rid of coronavirus, have them talk some dirt about Hillary Clinton and.
Oh, come on now. Now, Eddie, come on now.
All they gotta do is say something bad about Hillary Clinton and it'll be going on.
And disappear.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Okay, back to what I was doing. Okay, now Italy has 86,000 cases, and they have 9,000 deaths. Italy has more people dead from the coronavirus than China does. Again, I'm just saying, that's funny because it started in China and it spread from there supposedly, but now Italy has more people dead. Now I don't know if it's a different strain or what the deal is. Now France and the United Kingdom, which is England, they between the two of them, France has almost 2,000. They got 1,995 deaths. And England has 760 deaths. So
one of the princes is infected, which who cares?
So it's made its way there. Now Japan, which is a hell of a lot closer to China than we are, Japan has a city called Tokyo. Tokyo is the largest city in the world. Twice as big as New York City.
That's bigger than Tampa.
Because New York City is losing folks. Tokyo, but Japan has 1,500 cases. Japan has 49 deaths. 49 people dead from coronavirus in a city, in a country that's equal, bigger than, Tokyo is larger than Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And the whole country of Japan got 49 deaths from the coronavirus.
And they got that homeless problem there in Los Angeles too, and they're trying to help them and help everything else. That's a big mess.
Now, look, get this one. Pakistan, which is in India, Pakistan got 1 billion people too.
Really?
Yes, they do.
I mean, no idea.
India has 1 billion people. Pakistan has, and they're right there next to China. Matter of fact, they're on the Chinese border. They have 1,408 cases and 11 dead. They got 1 billion people. They got 11 folks dead from the coronavirus. Again,
and that's high numbers for.
I started looking at these numbers, and something about it just don't make sense. I mean, how do it skip some places and end up infecting others and everybody get it? I'm just saying, so I don't believe in happenstance. I don't think all kind of stuff like this just happen. People just don't, it don't just show up in New York, Washington, D.C., Washington State. I mean, I figure sometimes foreigners get Washington, D.C. and Washington State confused, so they send it to both places, I'm just, because New York City and Washington State are on both coasts. They on separate sides of the United States.
So they just take in more international flights, you think? That's got to be it.
No. Washington State, the whole state don't take in as many folks as New York does. New York take in more flights than probably any other place in the country, including Atlanta and Chicago.
Well, New York, which of course is Democrat run, not the brightest place, we do know that in February, the lady that runs the health department there, New York City, was saying, "Don't be racist, hug a Chinese," and they actually had some Chinese people there around town. So that was in February, folks.
Now they paying for it.
Oh my God!
Didn't mean that the way it sound, but take it.
Again, back the way Hillary Clinton said.
Speaking of odd consequences, Russia, who was big as the United States, nearly as big as the United States,
Just meaner.
has confirmed cases. Russia has 1,264 confirmed cases.
They'll tell us, because they can have whatever.
Russia has four FOUR dead people from the coronavirus. Russia has 4 people dead.
Eddie, if our population in America is what, 263, 280?
360 million.
Okay, 360 million in America, the United States of America. For there to be 100 dead from the coronavirus with those numbers, if somebody can work those numbers out, that percentage is awfully small. Now, if you're the one, if that's one of you, then it's 100%. I got that.
Well, Russia.
But I'm just saying.
Russia is 49 cases per million. That's 49. In the United States is 2,537 cases per million. Big difference between 49 and 2,500 cases per million.
Wow.
You know, I got those numbers. I just don't want to bore people with all the numbers. You know, because again, the nature of the information is what I'm trying to make sure folks get. Let me do this another way. Hong Kong satellite, China wannabe, right there next to China, got a whole big population of folks. Guess what? They got 560 cases and 4 people dead in Hong Kong, China, from coronavirus.
Well, Eddie, that lady doctor that is being used right now in the Trump administration, she's somehow running with the CDC and all that. She said that the model that we had been using was wrong out of Europe, and the doctor that created that model out of Europe that said in America we should have 2.5 million dead right now, she said that was wrong. We're having to do our own data, we're going to do our own model, so we don't have to follow this wrong model anymore.
Well, okay,
And these are people that know.
Taiwan, if anybody knows where Hong Kong is right across the bay from China.
Draw this map, folks. We're trying to help you out.
Taiwan is on the other coast, on the
A
other
lot
side
of people there.
of China, satellite of China. Taiwan has a grand total of 283 cases. Taiwan has a death total from the coronavirus of 2
Really?
TWO. 2 Taiwanese citizens have died from coronavirus. Now, we got, thousands of people all over the world dying. We got, Italy and France and the United States and all these other places. Folks just, we all locked down, trying to keep from getting it. Taiwan got 2 cases.
What are they doing different? Something's going on.
Well, that's what I'm trying to get to. Let me do this. Let me do this this one a little different.
Come on.
That's somebody who close to us. Cuba.
Yeah, pretty close. Key West.
Cuba got 80 cases. Cuba got 2 people dead from coronavirus. Vietnam got 178 cases of coronavirus.
That's a lot of people in Vietnam now.
But they got 0 people dead. 0 people in Vietnam dead from coronavirus.
That's a heck of a lot of people there.
Nepal, right next to. I'm trying to do closest places. If you understand geography, these are all places, close to China, who you would say, oh, it just spilled across the border. There's no natural, defenses from a virus, getting caught in the wind and getting blown, over there. Okay, Nepal.
Mm-hmm.
Nepal got 4 cases.
Nepal? There's a lot of people in Nepal.
Nepal has 4 cases. They got 0 people dead from coronavirus. I'm thinking if you look at this on a map where they take it and put the big red blotches on the map and the blue, green, yellow, and all how they do all the colors and stuff when they're trying to give you the information and you can look and see it.
Mm-hmm.
It says to me that you would think the center of the coronavirus was not Wuhan, China, but it was New York City and Italy. Because, they are the reddest, if you look at a world map of the coronavirus, you got more cases in New York City and Italy now than you do, in Wuhan, China. And answer, riddle me this, Batman. How is it that Wuhan, China gets to be the center point of the virus outbreak, and Shanghai has little or no cases? And they both in China, right down the street from each other. I'm just saying it didn't not only cross international borders. You got places in China that have little or no cases of the virus.
That's not fitting the narrative, Eddie.
What I'm saying is, understanding how natural events happen, wind, air, carrying disease, bacteria, and stuff like that. They all, if you look at them through history, they all pretty much act the same. But, and again, us folks here on Porch Talk Radio has to, from time to time, stir the pot. And I'm not stirring the pot with a bunch of fake stuff, because these numbers came from the World Health Organization. Go to their website. Again, I know some folks out there going to the World Health Organization. They got some maps, but then they got some numbers. They kind of break the world out into countries. And what I did was I didn't want to just bring all the numbers and all the stuff here and give it to you, because then you'll say, well, that was a boring show. But what I want to do is keep you informed. I want to tell you that there's places in the world that has no cases of coronavirus. Now, do that mean Chinese people didn't go there? That mean people from America. See, Americans go everywhere. The Americans and the Japanese are known to be world travelers. No matter where you go, you're going to see some American tourists and you're going to see some Japanese tourists. That's what them two countries do. So if you end up at a place, they didn't have to be Chinese. They could have been American, they could have been Japanese, they could have been from some of these other countries. That's kind of how viruses and disease contagion work. You ain't got to get it from someone who's Chinese. You could get it from anybody. That's
true. You got that. Because it does spread.
So how do we get places that got people in it, but they have no cases? Or they got one or two cases and nobody dead. And the only way that happened, and again, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, and I'm not trying to make folk think ill of our country, because the first thing they said, oh, well, Trump did it. Well, of course Trump did it. And then they say, well, Trump, for being a racist, we're trying to put it on the Chinese. Well, of course,
China.
But if you look at it, most of the viruses that most of the pandemics that have happened on this planet had a originating source,
outside.
a place. They came from somewhere. And
Ebola has the name from it right there.
Well, again, they say Ebola was found in Africa. But see, a lot of things happen where you have a carrier that's not human. So when they cross over from a human host to become a human pathogen, in that the host may live well in rats, like the Black Death. The rats were infected with it. Now until it crossed over the people, then when it crossed over the people, they had to get rid of all the rats, because as long as there was rats carrying the disease around, people couldn't get well. So millions of people died of the Black Death until they found out it was being carried by the rats. Because some places you can't get rid of rats. Some places got sewer. A lot of people nowadays have rats in their house. I'm gonna tell you, when I was a kid, I had rats in my house. But it wasn't my house; it was my mother's house. And we would shoot them with BB guns and all that kind of stuff. But
moving along, just thinking as a carrier, our state has gotten a little bit of a beating, and they've tried to. The media has done their best to take Governor DeSantis out to the woodshed a few times on his response time, understanding that, and I think the governor has his set of experts with him, and they're tapping into the White House as well, obviously, as all the governors are talking to the president almost daily. Right now, they got daily conference calls they're all doing, and they're getting the latest information from the CDC person that runs it, the doctor lady that's running a lot of that as well. So even though our governor has Florida has been sent to the woodshed a few times by the media. You know, we don't have the epicenter problem. Miami's having a problem, obviously. Orlando's having a little bit of a problem as well. Tampa, Eddie, have you heard the rates here in Tampa? Is there anything going on? I'm sure there is.
Well, I heard they got a couple of cases at Tampa General.
So now our state has not been the lead on any of this, and our governor has said, you know, we're good, and the media's hated that. Unfortunately, our spring breakers didn't help us by getting worldwide. What's that? Media
Picture.
coverage.
They got pictures on the
Running
beach.
naked on the beach. I
having
didn't quite
fun.
hit it,
Having fun.
we got past all that.
Yeah.
And as yesterday, I heard one of the reporters asking the president, you know, Florida's been kind of slow on the draw on this. You know, have you had a talk with that person? And you know, and President Trump said, no, he's a good guy. He knows what he's doing. His state is not one of the lead states that we're having a lot of issues in. We have a few problems there, but that's not that bad.
Well, I saw a pastor on TV yesterday who said they having church on Sunday. Come, bring
I heard about that.
Bring your sick, you bring your wounded, bring your
He's gonna apply that Jesus.
infirm, bring them to church tomorrow. So I'm like, okay, hey.
You know what?
He was either in Mississippi or Louisiana.
Yeah, you're right.
He's
You're right. I heard about that.
one of those states. And again, I'm just saying, sometimes you got to have common sense. You know, you got to make sense. Now, I don't know whether he was missing his offerings or what the deal was, but
Ain't nothing free, brother.
again, there's some things that you can recover from. Death ain't one of them. So I'm one of the people who, when I listen to commercials on TV and they saying, well, it can cause a rash, it can cause you a headache, you know, cause your foot to hurt, and then it can cause death. I'm like, okay, if it's gonna cause you to die, one of the side effects is death. I'm like, that's worse than cure me of this disease. So if the disease ain't kill me, I'm sure I'm not gonna take a pill that's got one of the side effects as death. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. So it's kind of like, you know, and again, folks, I'm going to take a good guesstimate here that we have a good group of faithful people that believe in Christ as their Lord and Savior. But you know, with your faith going, well, how do I handle this? A lot of the churches are closed right now.
Yeah.
Well, gee, isn't God really God? If that's the case, why should we not be in church? But you know what, folks? God gives us wisdom. He gives us wisdom to operate in, and if the leadership says, you know, we understand what God can do, all things are possible, we can all quote those scriptures, but if we can use wisdom in the process, says, okay, if this is just kind of jumping from one to another person, distancing is good. I know my church at Grace Family, we're doing prayer services online. We're doing weekly meetings, men's groups meetings, with doing a Zoom and doing a Hangout, so we can still see each other, talk to each other, pray with one another. You know, folks, there's always a way. And in spite of the hysteria on the TV, we have to be able just to shut it off and go, you know what, if there's a God in heaven, and we know that there is, we can pray, we can talk, we can still converse with one another and be wise and not go hang out.
Well, I saw, you know, I'm walking through the house and I saw my wife watching Dr. Phil yesterday. Dr. Phil was doing his show from his home. You know, I'm like, now there's some things that you can do, and I think Sean Shaw did his thing from his house today. There's some.
Rush Limbaugh did it last week.
Yeah, well, Rush only called in to his show. He didn't do the whole show.
And he got past the screener.
He did.
Now that was funny.
He did 30 minutes.
I'm Rush Limbaugh. Sure you are.
Yeah, he did 30 minutes from the house. But Rush thing wasn't into the studio because he couldn't hardly walk. You know, that was one of the side effects of his
he thought he could tough it out. He's like, oh no.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. He
That's
said his
too much.
legs swole up and a lot of other things. But guys, girls, you know, people, this is not it. This is not it.
They're not the big one.
They're preparing for something. And I'm just saying the way this thing kind of laid out globally, how you got a bunch of it here and none of it there, a bunch of it here and none of it there, and I called out some of these places. But if you go to, you know, the World Health Organization, they got a map and they got all the places where they got it. They got it everywhere. They go through all the countries in the world, and you can see how many cases they got there. And they update this thing, you know, and I went today so I can see the latest numbers. I mean, they may have changed since the show started, but it's in preparation, and somehow somewhere, I don't know if an alien landed somewhere, and they saying, well, we got to come together as a world, and we got to defend the earth, cause like you do in all the sci-fi movies.
Oh yeah.
But something is coming. Something is being prepared for. All the years we've had millions of people die from pandemics, and they never did what they're doing now.
And I think, Eddie, you're right, because we are forming new alliances with different countries right now. We are doing things corporately we've never done before. The system that we had has been called archaic, that we've had in America to try and deal with this, which has now been totally revamped on a much larger scale. And folks, if you don't believe what Eddie and I are talking is true, think about what this is. It's the flu, folks. It's the flu.
It's the cold.
Okay, it's a meaner cold.
It's a cold.
So we're getting prepped for something much larger.
Right. Yeah.
And that's why our systems are being redone in this nation, and the world. The world is having to come together and do things out. And President Trump said yesterday, he said, "Hey, we're going to have an excess of ventilators. I got that. But then once we have all these things in place, well, we can sell them off to other countries if that's the case. We'll have our backlog of them so we can keep track of them, but then we'll sell some off to other countries." So for just the common cold and flu going on right now, that we're doing all of this to shut down our economy temporarily,
But there's
there's something big.
There's something that's happening because I have two sisters, and they're both nurses, and if you go to a hospital now, I heard they talking about New York City and how the hospitals are all full, and part of they don't have enough healthcare workers. So I'm like this, and I don't mean to sound mean,
Come on.
but if I'm in West Virginia somewhere, out in the boonies, in an isolated area where ain't nothing but me and my cousins, I'm not gonna get on a bus, a Uber or however, transportation to go to New York where I know every other person is sick to help out. I'm just sorry.
You're gonna stay put,
I'm just saying,
and that's okay.
I'm just saying. I'm thinking, how you save and keep your family safe. Your priority one is your family. So that's what pretty much why a lot of people are staying home. Okay, we got a caller. Welcome on this Saturday afternoon, Porch Talk Radio. Who are you? Where are you calling from, and what say you?
Man, this is Joe Robinson. I'm calling this
Joe!
man. Y'all finally catching up to Joe Robinson with the conspiracy theory, man. Look, I was telling y'all about chloroquine a month and a half ago. Y'all talking about, well, it ain't proven. Let me just tell you something. Italy. 30,000-40,000 Chinese work over there in the textiles mills, and they brought that stuff back and forth over there, and that's why Italy getting like it is.
Yep.
Italy got a high population of people over 80 years old.
Yep.
Italy got because they got a lot of Chinese working there, and they're going back and forth, and they shut it down like Trump did.
They got a Chinatown.
Italy got a lot of Chinese working their textile factory. That's why they got what they got. And they all congested like New York. Next, go look at Africa. Like I told y'all, you don't see it there. You don't see it in some other. Why? Because they had malaria. They had it both. They done had some stuff that chloroquine done been used on.
Right.
So they already got immunity. Because look what chloroquine do. It don't solve it. What it does, it allows zinc. So zinc kills it. Zinc has to get in your cells. It cannot get in your cells unless chloroquine isn't taken in. Once chloroquine is taken in, it allows the zinc to get in your cells, and it stops it from reproducing. The other thing is all this testing is too late. Because people walking around asymmetric system. Okay, you don't even know you got it. So I think I had it in December 2019, and I thought I was about to drop dead here drinking gin and juice and all this appetite. Okay, so y'all talking and laughing, but some of us walking around with antibodies that ain't gonna have a problem with it.
True.
The other thing is that's why I told everybody, build your immune system up.
Yep.
Get out here in the sunshine. Do what you need to do. Get your vitamin C. You can't find vitamin C. Can't find Amboin. Stuff with zinc in it. Get you some red onions enough. And finally, they got another test that ain't technical. They did. They paying me to do research on this stuff. The bottom line is over in Italy, where a lot of people died, a guy did autopsy on a lot of bodies.
Yeah.
He found out that there's a flume that what blocks it is when you get this mucus. That's what's blocking older people. It blocks your airways, okay?
Right.
So what happened is he's doing what's called ultrasonic testing of your chest, which tells you immediately if you're getting a case of pneumonia, which the temperature ain't gonna tell you, which the test ain't gonna tell you, and the coughing ain't gonna show up. So that's, but if you do an ultrasound, he's found that if you identify ultrasound and you see that film of pneumonia coming, that's a person that's got it and they need to be quarantined. So what's happening is when you take the test, you go home and you go wherever you're going and wait 8 days, you don't contaminate 4 or 5 people, man. So the bottom line is that you get the quicker test, which just do ultrasound ain't even out. The doctors tell y'all stuff ain't even out yet. Y'all sitting around here waiting. They done already got cures and some of this stuff months ago. We just moving slow. So part of this now is an economic reshifting and making our manufacturers come home from China.
Oh,
The
yeah.
whole thing
Boom.
about stop making all this stuff in China and all our pharmaceutical China and put that back in domestic. Period.
Redistribution.
Excellent point, Joe.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, let's get real, man, and protect yourself and stay home and stay safe and get you some chloroquine if you can. Okay.
Thanks, sir.
Thank
God
you,
bless
Joe.
you. Good
Appreciate it.
message.
Appreciate the call. All right, we got another caller. Caller, welcome to Porch Talk Radio this Saturday afternoon. Who are you? Where you calling from? And what say you?
This is Adam from Tampa.
Hey, what's up?
Okay. Before, I have to let you know that I want to thank your president for signing the $2 trillion bill. We appreciate it as United States citizens. That's all I have to say.
Well, thank you for the call. Well, okay, now let me make my comment to what he just said. This is a pandemic. If you understand what words mean, I mean, okay, every country got some kind of ruler, got some kind of dictatorship, some kind of president. So what's happening in England, the folks in England, gonna blame either the Queen or the Prime Minister. What's happening,
Always.
in China, what's happening in Japan, what's happening in, Russia, wherever's happening. Again, Trump is a world leader. He's not the world leader. We don't have the world leader yet. We don't have a person, that's commander in chief of all the military forces of this planet. That's kind of what I said before. Maybe if the aliens land tomorrow, and for those who saw Independence Day, and we get attacked as a planet, then everybody come together. But someone said a long time ago, never let a crisis go to waste. Well, crisis is the time in which orders no longer become, obligatory, but they become mandatory. Stuff you can do during a crisis, you can't do when people are not afraid, when people are clear thinking, when men have a woman, behind them that say, well, don't do that. That's some crazy crap. Even though, you may be macho, feeling your oats and stuff, you got somebody behind you, got a wife and some kids, and you got some other people that you're responsible that keep you from doing crazy stuff. Again, there's a lot of stuff out there. So for me, anybody say, well, this is Trump did this. Well, you can't, you can say I'm in charge of this country, but you can't take responsibility for a pandemic. And there's no leader in the world unless you're the leader of China, where it started. That's the one thing that everybody do
And they're
know.
not claiming responsibility.
That's one thing that people forget. In China, they eat rotten eggs. They eat bats. They eat dogs. They eat cats. They eat rats.
While they're alive.
They eat snails. They eat ants.
Chocolate covered ends.
They eat everything. Anything that got protein. Anything that's got meat on it, about it,
Maybe that's why they're so
around it.
skinny, Eddie.
Because when you're trying to feed 1 billion people,
A billion.
seaweed becomes, a commodity.
Yeah.
Everybody, you eat a little seaweed on a regular basis. You can burn fat, just by walking up and down, just trying to stay alive.
There you go.
In places like that. So they eat everything as a customary, cultural. We say, ooh, you eat that. Well, you go over there.
Yeah.
You go over there, walk around, and go into the real city. Leave the tourist traps in the tourist area. Go to where the real people are staying, where the real people are eating, and see what they eat. I mean, if some people can go in and have that meal, I can't.
There
You
you
know,
go.
because I've been to some of those places, and I tell you, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then I know it's a duck. But if it look like a lizard of some type, some shape or form,
Absolutely.
and somebody say that's a chicken, I say now it's one thing we know. We know what the hell a chicken look like. We know
Oh,
what chicken
yeah.
tastes
You
like.
got that chicken.
It tastes like chicken. No, it don't. It don't. It
Yeah.
tastes like some kind of lizard or something.
Something wrong. Something wrong.
But it's a lot of places where people do eat anything that's got protein.
Right. Now,
That's land, sea, or air.
Now, three things that Adam. Adam, I appreciate you listening. I appreciate you taking the time to add your 2 cents into the pot. Looking at the big picture, as adults, we do have responsibilities for ourselves as well. So when we heard there's something going on, something called a pandemic, we should research it and go, oh, that means I should be more responsible for sanitary things that maybe I wasn't so responsible for. So responsibility does fall back on the individual. The government's there to lead them, of course, and we got that. And you brought out something in the last show that you said, well, hey, in January, the Washington Post put out this false article from, and of course the Washington Post, which is nicknamed the Washington Compost, talked that Trump didn't do anything in January. Well, January is when he put out the ban in China, and everybody called him racist, including the Washington Compost. So I was like, all right, but so if we have a pandemic and we need to take personal responsibility, we have been told repeatedly by the administration that as more tests are made available, we're going to get higher numbers. We've been told that repeatedly because now we know what we got because we have more access. People can access the testing equipment. So the numbers are going to shoot up temporarily. We got that.
Yeah, but that happens, and again, not just this virus. The problem is, sometimes you have information and you know it, and you can't, tell folks and have folks understand it in an hour show, a 3-hour show, a 2-week show, because of the nature of information. If you understand how viruses work, viruses, bacteria, and fungi, all are microscopic, animals, microscopic beings. Fungi, is giant mushrooms, but they're not giant. They're little teeny mushrooms that you can't even see.
Don't smoke the mushrooms.
Bacteria and virus. Viruses are the smallest. Viruses are the smallest entities, for its living. I'm saying it's an animal, but it's a virus. It's a virus, and it is so small that most of the masks you people are wearing, it's not. It's making you look like you're afraid of something, but it's not keeping anything out. It's not. Because if you don't get a virus proof, a virus, the right kind of mask on your face, you just wearing a mask on your face. You might as well put your shirt on your face or something.
But it's trendy.
Because you think you're doing something, but you're not preventing yourself from getting the virus. I'm telling you that so you'll know.
Is that N95 mask, Eddie? Is that the one that's supposed to be able to help?
No, I mean yes, but when you buy a mask, it's gonna have on the box a specific size and specific information about what the mask will prevent you from catching.
See, the ones from Wish don't do that.
No,
They come in different colors and they glow in the dark.
well, again, people have been wearing masks in Japan for years. I went to Japan 20 years ago, 30 years ago, and folks were still walking around with masks 30 years ago. But see, they were just trying to keep out the pollution. Or they knew something that we didn't know because they,
Always.
Because then they got a couple of attacks, and then folks needed them masks, all that kind of stuff. So as just a host, your Porch Talk Radio, we just try to keep you thinking. Make sure you know and understand. Not all this ain't rhetoric. Some of this stuff, I really want you to take a look at how and where this stuff happened. And Joe Robinson, who called earlier, had a point. We have had to deal with folks who are in, around, and from Africa, have dealt with so many different viruses and plagues and malaria and so many stuff over the years, to where their immune system is probably pretty much immune to most of this new stuff, even though the coronavirus is not new, they first started talking about this one in 1920.
Eddie, no, you're not sticking to the media.
Again,
You're not-
they
the
don't,
media
they don't
didn't
tell you
us
that.
Yeah.
This appeared in 1920. They got information about how they dealt with it then. It never got to this scale. So I'm just saying, whatever it is, your body is building up resistance and immunity, to this thing, because for everybody who's got it at this point, you got, say out of 10, 5 of those folks have got well. So that's the other part.
That's a positive side.
Is you got well, you build up your immunity, to it, and next time it shows ugly head, you have antibodies for it. So
Well, and Sean
that's my
Hannity
thing.
had a doctor that he was talking to, he was interviewing on his show just last week, and that doctor said that New York City had already they had been running the test for a while, they just now begin to get the results. And that doctor that Sean Hannity had on his show said that they had tried 350 people that had the virus, had all the symptoms. They gave them that malaria drug,
Yeah.
and 350 people were made better within hours, 3 to 4 hours. They're saying on the respiratory part.
The way it worked. That's that. That's
But
the way
how
it
come
is.
we didn't hear that elsewhere,
That's
Eddie?
the way it is. Well, okay. Now we're gonna take this short period of time before we run out of time.
Oh,
to
you
do-
sure we got time?
On this day.
All right.
On this day. And again, thank you folks for listening. And I know it's far more listeners than they are callers. And I just want you guys to know,
Millions.
us folks at Porch Talk Radio appreciate, your time and your loyalty, to the show. And again, from time to time, I am not trying to make a point. I'm just not trying to scare you like everybody else is trying to scare you. I'm just trying to give you some information and encourage you to go look at, some of this stuff and see how some of this stuff happened, and just say, okay, do that make sense to me? Usually if it don't make sense, then
You won't think for themselves,
then
and
there's
that's
more,
awesome.
Then there's more to it than folks are telling you. So don't just depend on people to tell you stuff. Anyway, on this date, on March the 28th, 1834, U.S. Senate voted to censor President Jackson for the removal of federal deposits from the Bank of the United States. Remember back in the day they had a bank? They had a Bank of the United States.
They had a fiscal bank.
Yeah, they had
Wow.
a bank.
Not Fort Knox.
And when the Federal Reserve was actually a bank in the United States, but now the Federal Reserve is not a bank; it's a group
owned by
of
the Treasury.
it's a group
That's
of
awesome.
banks. It's a group of banks. Anyway, on this date, March the 28th, 1885, the Salvation Army was officially organized in the United States. On this day, March 28th, 1917, during World War I, the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, or the WACS, was formed, and it was founded. On this day, 1990, Jesse Owens received the Congressional Gold Medal from U.S. President George H.W. Bush. So again, just sometimes, it's on the lighter side every now and then. I find some stuff that happened, back in history, where history repeatedly repeats itself. And with these diseases and viruses and contaminations and pandemics and stuff like that, every time it happens, there was once a cholera epidemic in South America, that killed half the folks. At one point in time, and it rebound. And cholera is a miserable disease where you literally poop your whole insides out. And Ebola is an ugly disease. Where they can see, it looks like a person is dying a miserable death when you can see that they have Ebola. So there are some things that's different. This is something that you can be walking around with the disease, carrying disease, infecting everybody everybody you meet, and you can show no symptoms, no sign. So this is something a little different, which is why they're saying social distancing and stay at home. Now my thing about the stay at home part is now you only give it to your friends and family.
Well, sharing is caring, right? So, folks, as you kind of listen to the media, and we just kind of recommend sometimes, just shut it off, please. Go talk to the neighbor if you have to do hand signs through the window, whatever. The funny things that happened this week, Governor Andrew Cuomo admits stockpile of thousands of unused ventilators he had stashed. Oops. How did 39 million masks suddenly get discovered? Face masks.
Oh, I read that too.
39 million after 90 days hysteria going on.
Department of Justice or somewhere in D.C. they found.
Oops, looky here.
All those masks and other equipment. You know.
So folks, you got to just stop and think for a minute. You know, maybe there's something else going on here. But I believe in the background, and again, the Federal Reserve RIP March 27th, 2020, when they merged in with the Treasury Department. I think that's pretty amazing. And of course, folks, since the $2 trillion bill has been passed.
Yeah.
With
more to come.
Yeah, well, understand, you know, when you that feeling you get when suddenly you think you got the coronavirus, but you're miraculously saved by new emission standards for jet planes.
Right.
That was part of the $2 trillion bill.
Well, they gave the Lincoln Center, you know, some money, you know, $25 million bailout, something like that. So it's a lot of stuff. This is not your traditional Democratic bill, but it's not your traditional Republican bill either. It's a bunch of fat, a bunch of pork.
Oh my God!
Just to get it through. So that's how they haggle in Washington D.C. You give me something, I give you something. You know, they made sure there was no money for the wall.
Oh wait a minute! There's a 25% increase also for the congressmen to get paid more money.
Well, no money in the wall, no money for the wall. But yeah, all 535 members of U.S. Congress get a pay increase. And they're not getting a small pay increase. They're getting a huge pay increase.
Very big. 25 to 39,000.
Don't let a virus or a crisis go to waste. So they made the most of it.
And as the governor keeps complaining out of New York, he's getting a lot of airtime. I wonder if they're going to run him in there as president. Hopeful, maybe.
Well, he got a bunch of money. He can kind of help, you know, the financial situation in New York itself.
Well, he's been complaining himself about all that they need over there. But didn't he kind of use all that money up that they had for illegals and welfare? But it's Trump's fault still.
Well,
I don't get that.
Well, that's kind of why he got a big problem now. Is that, you know, what they're doing is not working, and all that. Again, I said sanctuary cities. You know, it's 5 sanctuary cities in the country that has 90% of the coronavirus cases. So
coincidence, it's also Democratic controlled.
So I'm just saying, you know, there's some habits, you know, that you may not pay for immediately, but
pray for wisdom in all the leadership, folks.
It's happening.
Every state.
So until next time, when we do this again, we all sit down, have fun. You know, same bat time, same bat station. You know, us folks here at Porch Talk Radio, me and Gabriel.
Is this a bad joke, a Wuhan joke?
Me, Gabriel, and Tim. You know, we'll see you next week. Hopefully from the station, unless they tell me I can't come in, and if they tell me I can't come in,
We'll just yell from the outside in.
Yeah, we'll sit in the car and holler at folks on the phone or something. You know?
Exactly.
Anyway, next week, see you.
God bless
Love you.
America.
Bye bye.